October the 5th, 2001. We're with the Abilene 12th Armored Museum that's opening this weekend. This afternoon I'm talking to Earl Holderman. My name is Charlie Henson, and I appreciate you letting us come and talk to you. First of all, I want to know your name, where you were born, and the date of your birth.
I was born in, at home. And that was in Richland County, Wisconsin. And it's October 21, 1921.
And who were your parents and what did they do?
My folks were firemen.
Okay, and what were their names?
My dad's name was Bert, and my mother's name was Ethel.
Were they immigrants, or had they been in the States forever? Or?
As far as I know, they've been there for...
Okay. What about brothers and sisters? Did you have brothers and sisters?
I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Tell me about where you were on Pearl Harbor Day, December.
I went over to help the neighbor do chores, I think. I remember when I come back, I think it was on a Sunday, and he said, and then he told me he'd heard it on the radio, I guess, that Pearl Harbor had been attacked.
What was that like for you, hearing that and your reaction to that?
I don't know. I can't remember just how I did feel about it then. But
how old were you? Were you 18 at that time?
no, I was 42. I must have been about 20.
20. Okay. Okay. Did you enlist, or were you?
I was drafted.
Okay. Tell me about how you found out about being drafted and where they sent you to.
We went to Fort Sheridan. It was the first camp I went to. And went from there to Kentucky, Camp Cabell, Kentucky. Then from there to down here to Abilene.
Tell me about Camp Campbell. What's the first thing you remember as you went? Did you go in buses or trucks, or how did you get into Camp Campbell?
How did I get?
Yeah, I mean, did they from the other base where you went in? Did they truck you? Did you ride?
Well, we
trains?
rode on a train, I think. I think it was by train.
And what was that like as you got off the train there at Camp Campbell? And what did they do? Did you do the first day?
I don't even remember.
Well, tell me your memories of Camp Campbell. Just tell me some things that you remember about that.
I don't really remember too much about Camp Campbell. I know.
What about Tennessee maneuvers? Were you out in the...
Yeah, we was on maneuvers. And I don't remember too much about it, but one time I was going to sleep on the ground, and somebody killed a poison snake not too far from there, so I slept on the hood of my half-track. I drove a half-track.
Were the half-tracks, you were driving a half-track there in the Tennessee maneuvers?
It was either a half-track or a scout car, I don't know. There's armored, I think the half-tracks had the tracks in the back, and I think the scout car had just a 4-wheel drive. I don't know.
So you were in the scout car or the half-track?
I don't remember for sure what it was I had there.
When you got to did you train on, you were in a tank battalion. Now, what was your job in the tank battalion there at Campbell?
I just drove the half-track, and when we go on maneuvers, they'd go in. They usually put the half-tracks in position around the 105 howitzers guns for, guard duty, like.
Tell me what it was like going into England, the trip over on the Atlantic and the ships and reaching England from Texas?
They put us on a ship, and I think our battery was supposed to work in the kitchen on the way over, but I got an infection in my finger, so I didn't do anything. Then I went in the hospital a couple of days after. I don't know, it was some kind of infection, and then I got over it. But
Okay, what was England like when you got to England? Were you there a little while before your equipment got there, or?
yeah, we was there a while. I don't know, remember just how long it was, but then we went across the channel on I think it was on an English ship, but picked up our vehicles, and some of them went and picked the drivers, I think, picked up the vehicles, and one was either Cherbourg or Le Havre, I forgot which city it was. But then from there we started all across France. The invasion had already been going on before we got there. But
What was it like do you remember the first time you were engaged in battle?
yeah, kind of. We pulled in this position. We'd just been there a little bit, and then was right in front of another I think a bigger gun section, and they must have had a fire mission, and we thought at first it was shells coming in, but it was just the guns behind us shooting at the Germans. But
It wasn't, huh?
no.
Well, you were 20 years old.
Then I was 21, I guess.
You were 21. What was it like to be 21 and over there doing that?
I don't know how to explain that.
Well, did you feel pretty prepared? Did you feel real prepared to do what you had to do?
Yeah, I guess I was.
I've heard people talk about the half-track drivers, and nobody's ever really talked to me very much about it, but when you traveled at night, you had to use just tiny little beams. What was that about? What was that?
It was just little slits in the lights. They didn't make enough. You just had to drive mostly in the dark. You couldn't see. Just little slits in the lights. They didn't make enough light so you could see where he was going.
So did y'all kind of stay in a caravan, or how did you know?
We didn't drive too much at night overseas. In the States we did on maneuvers.
What is who do you remember as your sergeant? The sergeant that you remember the most?
I guess Sergeant Porter was his name at the beginning, but he wasn't with us when we went overseas. He went in a different division, I think.
So who was do you remember your sergeant?
Sergeant Anspach, I think, was our first sergeant when I was overseas.
Describe him physically and what kind of leader he was for y'all. What kind of leader was he for you?
I didn't really see him too much. They just tell us where to go. I mean, when we just moved together. And I didn't really see him too much during the war.
Describe your half-track to me. Describe from the very beginning to the end. Describe what was in the half-track, what you carried in the half-track, compartments where you kept different things.
Well, it had a turret in the front, kind of with a 50 caliber machine gun on it, and the supply sergeant, I think Roadman, he had some rack built on the back with supplies in it. clothing stuff. And I think, I don't know if we had a trailer or not. We did in some time.
Did you take food and ammunition or just ammunition for the half track?
Yeah, we had some, didn't have a lot of ammunition. We had we didn't really use the machine gun much, but for a plane once in a while.
When you did you always have the same men in your half track
Yeah.
that you drove?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay. Are there any those men that stand out in your mind, or you don't have to remember their names, but just some guys that stand out in your memory?
Well, I can remember them pretty good, but I don't know just all the. I know one time we was in a position and we got shelled, and when they hit above the hat, we was up kind of on the hill. They'd put him in positions around the gun section for protection. And then I said when we went up there, I said it's a good place to go to get knocked out. And about the first night, they must could see us from the hill across from us. And the shell hit above our half track, one hit below it, and the guy out. He said, "Hey, you better get out of there." And I said, "What for?" I thought after the second one hit, and I thought, boy, the next one's going to come right in it. But 3 shells hit probably within 20 feet of the half track, one above, one below it. The next one is right behind him. But if it was close enough, so it knocked holes through the armor plate.
Did any of you get wounded from that?
No.
No. Was that the closest call you ever had?
No. We went in one position once. I'd just been there a little bit, and I wasn't thinking about anybody being a sniper around. But when you go in, you have to look for a place to go to the bathroom. There was a creek over there, and there was a bunch of trees along there. So I started walking over towards the tree where the trees were, and I don't know what made me stop. But for some reason, I stopped and turned around. When I turned around, something stung my stomach. And I didn't realize at first what it was. And somebody started to holler at me, said, "They're shooting at you." And then after I run back and got behind the half track, and I felt something down in my shoe. I took my shoe off, and the inside button on my shirt, it shot the button off. I had a hole. It was right.
So did the button save your life?
No, the button made a little cut in my stomach.
Oh, did it?
Just a little spot, but like that was close enough in a way.
Oh, so that was the closest you ever got?
Well, when my half track got knocked off, I was pretty close. And one time we was driving, and an assistant driver was driving. I said, I hadn't been taking pictures. I had a camera, and I hadn't been taking any pictures. But for some reason, I guess I'll take a picture of it. There was a German vehicle was burning up the road ahead of us. And I bent over to get my camera, and the thing blew up. Was exactly beside it when it blew up. And where I'd been looking out through, the canvas top was above the half track, was full of holes in the water can, and the water was squirting out. Then I looked around, and one of the wheels had blew off, and the German vehicle was lit on top of our half track, and I pushed it off. And that was it was close enough. About as close.
Did you kind of get used to all this noise and all this activity, or I mean, you weren't used to it, were you?
No.
How did you get used to all that? This chaos.
I don't know. I just used to it. I guess it's just something you got to do with it. You got to keep. Man, I had a fragment on my jacket once. I don't know how it got there, but sometimes they use it for a pillow, so I guess that was kind of close too.
Did you sleep in the half track or
No,
well, you didn't get sleep
that
much,
time when
did
we
you?
got shelled, I was in a, once anyway, I was in a foxhole. I had a foxhole, but that time when it came that close to hitting the half track, I didn't even stay around it because I thought the next one would hit it probably.
Were there any? Do you remember any of the tankers or any of the? You kind of stayed around the tankers to protect it. I want to know when you stopped and you started firing. Tell me about how the 493rd was 495th, 494th. Tell me how y'all were kind of in order and what the process was.
I don't know if I know how to explain it. They pull in position, and forward observers that send back messages. Fire missions. When they get a fire mission, they all start shooting. I don't know just how to explain it.
Now, did you have a radio man in your half track?
I had the radio, but I don't think I had a regular radio man. I forgot who. No, I forgot now who did.
So were they radioing back to you to tell you where to shoot, or were they radioing?
No, we did. I didn't have anything to do with that. But sometimes they used my half track to go back after supplies, and because it had a radio, and then come back.
So you had to go back to the supplies.
To where the supplies were, then lead to bring the supplies trucks up or something.
About what was the distance on an average between supply trucks and the front? Did it vary?
I don't really remember how. Within the artillery, you're not up like the infantry. They're up real close, but you're close enough so you can hear the machine guns going.
So y'all, the infantry battalions, and then were y'all next kind of in the, as you go back, it was the tank battalions, and then the headquarters were behind y'all, headquarter divisions?
I don't know just how they did work that. One time I think our division had deliberated as concentration camp, and was going back. They was going to take us up there to see it, and the half track ahead of me went over this little bridge, and the bridge broke down right in front of us. So we couldn't get there very quick. But the time we did get to the camp, our vehicle anyway, we just barely got in there, and then they wouldn't let us go in because they're afraid we might catch some disease or something, I guess. I don't know.
Did any of the infantry battalions, did I've heard stories of them, some of them riding the tanks, kind of protect the tanks and the tanks protect them. Did y'all do any of that?
No, I don't think so. Wasn't around the tankers too much, but they'd probably be in front of 105 is on a tank. It's like a tank chassis in a way. It's an armored M7.
Whenever you, if you were to think about it, is there one thing that happened in your experiences of the war that kind of sticks in your memory?
I don't remember too much. One thing I think about it quite a lot was when we did go into this concentration camp. We were just in there a few minutes before they made us go out, but there was a big room there. It must have been a building, and they had bodies piled up quite high, and they just burned it down. Just see a whole bunch of dead bodies laying there. half burnt.
When y'all saw this, did you have any idea of exactly what all this was about? I mean, did you have any idea of who the people were? Or
No.
would that have been probably the hardest thing to watch of the war?
Yeah, I think it was one of the hard things. I didn't see too much of that, but because we didn't go in the camp. But.
What was the hardest day for you?
I never really thought about it.
It was all bad, huh?
Yeah.
What about Herlesheim? What do you remember? Were you at Herlesheim?
Yeah, I guess we were. I don't remember the names of the towns too good, like some people. Yeah.
Well, it's the one where y'all went in and the 12th was just nearly, I mean, so many of you were killed and the water was.
Our battery was pretty lucky. We didn't have a lot of deaths in it, but like some of them did. So.
I was trying to remember if the 494th ever got across the bridges into Herlesheim. You know, this is when all the they told y'all that there weren't going to be that many troops, and all of a sudden there were just thousands of SS troops and stuff, and so many of the men were killed and captured there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about that. We were lucky, I guess.
Did y'all have any people that were captured that you knew?
No, I never knew anybody that was captured.
Who was your best friend? Did you have a best friend there in the...
Yeah, Wally Bowers and Terrell Lamb. Wally Bowers has passed away a couple of years ago, I guess.
Tell me some of the experiences, some of the things that you remember as you relate to them. Fun times, whatever, some things that y'all did.
Well, the one, Terrell Lamb, was driving the half-track ahead of me when the bridge broke. Because he's the one that broke the bridge down. Must not have been too strong a bridge, but... And Wally Bowers, I wasn't around him too much during the war. I mean, he was in a different... in the communication wire section.
Was he in the 494th?
Yeah.
Okay. So after the war...
Henry Ambling, too, he rode my half-track, so I knew him pretty good. But he passed away just this summer, I guess.
So did that, being in the same half-track, really kind of bond y'all together a lot?
Yeah, I think it did.
Did y'all sit around and tell war stories at the reunions?
Well, something.
Did you?
There's not many of our batteries there this year. I don't know.
It's not very big this year, is it? Not many people.
I don't know if the terrorist stuff might have slowed down some from coming.
Yeah, I do know that some didn't come because of the terrorists and planes and all that kind of stuff. They couldn't get into Abilene. So, yeah. If you were, when you came back from the war, did you talk about it very much?
Not really, I don't think.
What did you do when you came back? Did you go to school? Did you go back? Did you go to work?
Well,
did you get married? What did you do?
First I started working in a rubber plant, tires. Then we got laid off with it. It was kind of a dirty department, so I didn't stay there. Then I went to a vocational school I worked in a machine shop for a while. But then I did quite a lot of welding, and that bothered me. I had a sore throat quite a lot from that, so then I went into a milk plant and did maintenance work in a dairy.
Oh, a dairy? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
30-some years.
Oh,
33 years.
which was it a local farm or was it a company or?
No, it was just a local mostly. They had 2 or 3 plants, but it was a big cheese. They made a lot of cheese, and not the one I was in, but their main plant.
So you saw a lot of changes in the dairy business, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a lot different now than it was then. You had to haul the milk by cans, in cans first, then bulk trucks and all pick it up.
So,
Tell about your trip
Hmm?
coming. Tell about your trip coming home on the
Yeah.
way home.
And ship.
yeah, tell me about your trip coming home.
Yeah, that was awful. It was really a rough. We kind of split up after the war and went home. I think I came home with medics or something. But it was a stormy time of the year in the Atlantic, and I think it took us about 17 days to come across the Atlantic. The one time they said they made only 40 miles in 24 hours. It was so, it's so stormy that just someone ripped the lifeboats off in the ship even. I think there was about 30 people got hurt just from flying, it was so rough they'd fly against something and break your arm or something.
Was this a Liberty ship that you came
Yeah,
back
it was
on?
a small ship.
Uh-huh.
Victory or Liberty, I don't know. It was pretty small for a ship. I mean, it was maybe about 500.
Was it like I survived Germany and France and here am I going to even get home?
I saw a lot of sick people going home.
Yeah. Oh, what was it like where were you the day that the war ended? Do you remember that? What was it like to know this was over?
I think it was in Austria probably, and it seemed kind of good. But then you'd start thinking about going to Japan. But then after that, they dropped the atomic bomb, and then that ended it.
Did you have enough points to come home and stay, or were you headed to Japan? Were they going
Well,
to bring
no,
you home?
if the war when it ended, I'd probably had to go to Japan.
So how long were you, did you leave pretty quickly after May Liberation Day, or were you there a while, a few months?
I was there. I didn't get to come home as quick as a lot of them because I wasn't married or. I don't know how long I was there, for several months, I think.
Did you continue to drive, or what?
I did drive some, drove a truck and hauled wood for some city. It was quite a big city, and hauled wood there. And I took an officer once in a Jeep to Belgium, I think. It was quite a long trip. A day, I guess it was only about a day each way, maybe.
What were the roads like after the war?
It was good, except, I mean, it was on the Autobahn, except for all the bridges are gone. Every time you came to where there was a bridge, it would be bombed out, and you'd have to go down around just a little place where they'd fix it so you could get through. But otherwise, the road was.
What did they use to fix that? Did they use pontoons to get you across?
Well,
the
this
river?
is what. Well, one like when they go across the engineers made bridges across like the big rivers, but this was just a little. This was after the war when I was driving some of them places.
Okay, this is the question. What was the roughest place that you ever drove during the war?
The roughest?
The roughest, the toughest, the longest. What was the worst drive you had? And if you don't remember where it is, just tell me about it.
I don't even remember.
What about the time no brakes?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, tell me that.
I went on a. I drove it was just a small truck. We went on a sightseeing trip to Austria. We just got to the border and we had to stop. I pushed the brake down. No brakes, the brake line broke. So we had about 20 miles of mountain to go through without any brakes. So I guess that was probably but you put it down in low range, in low gear, and got down all right.
This was in mountains.
Went through the mountains yeah, without any brakes. So.
So were you glad that was over with when you got there?
It didn't bother me too much.
Now tell me why it didn't bother you. Were you just
Well, when you had
it, or
it,
what?
when you them trucks, you can put them in low range, and they'd hold it back pretty good without. Yeah, the second trip we went, it had brakes, but you still had to go down in low gears or to go slow enough. The brakes alone wouldn't be good enough.
About how fast were you going down the mountains? 5 miles? What's low
Oh.
gear?
Not very fast. One of the guys, I think he had a hold of the emergency brakes so he could help a little if it needed it, but we got down all right.
Now, did you have was that the assistant driver? Did you have assistant driver?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I did on that trip or not. I did one on the half track.
When did you ever go day in and day out? Just y'all kept on traveling through, like towards the end of the war, and everybody was just kind of heading out. How did y'all do that? Did you just train drivers, or you can't drive 24 hours a day, day in and day out?
We never had to drive that
Oh,
long.
you didn't have to?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Never at one time.
When you were a truck driver, did you ever have special training about how to take care of it? I mean, if it broke down, what did you do, or did they teach you that part of it?
I don't know. We had I don't remember much about that. We had to keep the vehicle greased and check the oil and stuff like that, but the mechanical part, the maintenance would take care of that.
You didn't have to do that?
No.
Oh, okay. Did the gasoline stay up pretty much with you, the gasoline supplies?
We never run low, I guess.
What else is he not telling me? I'm asking her, what are you not telling me that I need to ask you?
Well, you got to go to the Riviera, which
Okay.
everybody don't get to go to.
Okay, tell me about that. Was that in the service or afterwards that you went to the Riviera?
Well, that was after the war.
Before you
You could sign up to go there if you wanted. Some of them wanted to get home so bad they didn't want to. They didn't want to sign up for us. I've been over there that long. You might as well go if you can. So I was there. That was a nice. It wasn't much of a train ride, but it took, I don't know, 2 or 3 days I think to get there. And it's 2 little compartments. I think 6 people in each compartment. And they had little racks on the side for baggage. I slept in one of them racks for 2 nights. I did.
but it was worth it.
Yeah, it was nice. It's nice down there.
Did
It
you
costs a
just
lot of money if you had to do it now. I mean, the
Yeah.
Riviera.
Did you have, what kind of palaces were there in the Riviera?
What?
The palace, there were some castles or palaces?
Well, we stayed in a nice motel. I mean, it was a nice trip. We went down there and didn't cost anything. You could stay in a real nice hotel just a few blocks from the sea.
You were in a castle or palace.
Yeah, we were in a castle different one time. I don't know. It was pretty old.
Were you billeted there? Or
Yeah.
How many men were billeted there, do you think?
Or our whole battery, I guess, probably. It was pretty good size.
In most cities or towns, did you have a place to stay?
Sometimes we stayed in German houses, and sometimes we were outside. A lot of the times we got in German houses.
What kind of food situation did you have? Did you get? Was there anything left on the land, or basically it was your C ration, your K rations and stuff?
We had a mess truck with us, and they had most of the time we had food from the truck they fixed. We had K rations too, but we didn't. have to use them too much.
What did they taste like? What did it taste like? Do you remember?
I don't even remember.
Did you gain weight or lose weight when you were in Europe?
I don't think either. I don't think I gained or lost either.
Okay. Do you consider that a pretty hard time? When you think about that, was that the hardest time that, in experiences like that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The fellow I used to work with called me the War Department, so maybe that was the hardest time.
Called
When
you.
did you meet her?
How did I meet her?
Yeah, how'd you meet her?
My cousin, they were in high school together, so I went up to see them, and she asked her over, and that's the way.
This
So
was
we've been
after
married
the war?
54 years now.
54 years. You met her soon after the war then?
Yeah, quite soon.
If you were to, I always ask this question before we quit. Is there anything that you would like to say? There's going to be students listening to this tape, and is there anything you would like to tell them about the war, or things you?
But like to tell who?
The children that will look at these tapes and stuff. Is there anything about the war, your war experiences, or good advice that you would like to tell them?
I think we're lucky to live in the country like we are living in, and it's worth fighting for.
And you're thankful to the Lord for protecting you through these
Yeah,
times where you just moved right at the exact time to be shot.
What got you through? Was there something inside of you that kind of got you to help you to survive the war? Something that your parents kind of instilled in you, or?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know how to answer it, I guess.
Okay. So have I left anything out?
Pardon?
Have I left anything out that I need to ask you?
I don't think so.
You just want to get away from me, don't you? Okay, thank you so much.